Welcome to the climax of a mystery drama. Investigations reveal a Berkeley professor was stabbed to death years ago with an ice pick, and Caitlin just happened to be there tending to her naughty herbs. What are the odds? So, the chief assigned tasks and Nick was given the job of tailing Caitlin. He found Caitlin often visited Old U to understand her social circle better. He noted down names from Old U's emails, but when he returned to the precinct that night, the chubby guy appeared and found the assassinated professor was Caitlin's former mentor. This is all too weird. The chubby guy saw the name Nick was investigating and was instantly shocked. That name was hard to find. Old U disappeared into thin air without leaving the slightest trace when he was young. Even scarier, Old U confidently confessed his crimes afterward. Nick pondered this, and the next day, he went to Caitlin, ready for a straight talk. But upon entering, he saw a pile of newspapers about him on the table, and Caitlin casually remarked, "Being in a book by death-themed Caitlin made Nick uneasy." Nick didn't forget the main issue and immediately asked about the Berkeley professor and Old U, only to have her casually answer his questions. Then Caitlin fired back with questions about Nick's past, but he didn't bat an eye. But then Caitlin dropped a bombshell that made Nick furious. Her suicide had already been sealed. Only his girlfriend Anna knew. How could she possibly know? Thinking this, Nick stormed into Anna's office, demanding to know why she spilled secrets. "Don't lie to me." "No, Nick, please don't make it awkward." Nick went straight to Detective Nelson, only to get suspended for his impulsiveness. Little did she know that after arguing with Nelson in the morning, she'd be murdered on her doorstep that night. Nick obviously became a prime suspect, being home alone without an alibi, which was troublesome. Fortunately, Anna, the precinct psychologist, finally appeared, falsely claiming to have been with Nick that night, vouching for his innocence. Although this cleared his name, Nick was still on suspension. It looked like this case wouldn't be resolved anytime soon, so he decided to pack up and take a break. Nick's case was brewing, and just before the explosion, they both took out hefty insurance policies, yet the police turned up empty-handed. So far, they could only close the case as an accident, even though everything was suspicious. But since he was suspended, Nick decided to just go home and rest. Caitlin seemed very interested in him, but her intentions were puzzling. He didn't buy her excuses. Bright and early, Nick returned home to find Caitlin squatting at his doorstep. He was determined to figure out what this woman was really up to. They chatted over drinks without her making a move, and she unexpectedly used a seductive gaze on him. Nick felt a bit unable to hold back and asked, "What do you want?" She then took out a book. The book told of a boy who killed his parents in a later accident. Wasn't it her parents' story? Caitlin saw Nick frown and hurried to explain that this book was written after her parents' incident, signaling him to relax. Thinking this kind of timing could possibly be faked, a quick investigation would confirm it. Then Caitlin suddenly stood up and walked downstairs, casually saying something before she left. Was she just here to tell me she published the book, or was she inviting me for deeper discussions? Nick was filled with doubts and curiosity. If she wanted to play, Nick wasn't afraid. With Caitlin's naked teasing, he wasn't planning on backing down. After a whole night of twists and turns, while washing up, he suddenly noticed a ghostly woman appear behind. She tossed him a harsh line. This woman named Loxie was actually Caitlin's friend. Clearly, her remark was out of jealousy, and Nick retorted with a line that made her furious. However, little did she realize that her words would bring her trouble down the line. The next day, just after parting with the chubby guy and heading home, Nick was attacked. Luckily, his skill saved him, or a regular person would have dropped. Seeing their attack fail, the assailant promptly turned tail and fled. Nick immediately gave chase, but he just couldn't catch up due to the superior performance of the other car. So he decided to take a shortcut and coincidentally met on a bridge under construction. The result was that, regardless of his own safety, he courageously charged ahead, but the opposing party didn't seem inclined to bring matters to a close. The next second, when he opened the body, it was eerily silent. Nick couldn't believe they meant it, but police investigations showed the car was actually registered under Caitlin's name. And the car on the road was also under Caitlin's name, suggesting Loxie wasn't just any ordinary character. He found Loxie's history in files, uncovering her dark secrets. At 16, due to a dispute with her brother, she angrily cut his throat with a razor. At that moment, Nick realized he might have been wrong about his investigation. He shouldn't have fixed his gaze solely on Caitlin. So, he rushed to Caitlin's place, only to find her in tears. Her devastation over Loxie's death was clear. After a brief word of comfort, she suddenly asked if Loxie could have been behind the previous case. However, Caitlin firmly stated that Loxie would never do such a thing. She then revealed an untold story. During her time at Berkeley, she had a fling with a classmate named Lisa. However, she found Lisa mimicking her hair color and clothing, terrifying Caitlin. She decisively broke up with Caitlin and Loxie. So could that be the Lisa Caitlin mentioned? The next day, Nick found Lisa's information through a black guy.